Are you sure you've been making egg fried rice the right way all these years? Just one very small change, changing the order of the egg and the rice, and this familiar dish can become completely different. Fluffier. Lighter. Not sticky or soggy at all. And each grain of rice is coated in a beautiful golden layer of egg, just like in a restaurant. Hello everyone, I'm Mary. Today I will share with you a very simple yet extremely effective method. Nothing fancy, nothing complicated, just understanding a few small principles, and you will notice the difference clearly from the very first try. Let's begin. Before talking about the eggs or the vegetables, I want to talk about the rice first. It sounds simple, right? But in fact, this step determines half of the success of fried rice. To have a plate of fried rice where every grain is separate, fluffy, and not clumped together, you need to use rice that has cooled and is slightly dry. Rice cooked the day before and stored in the refrigerator overnight is the most ideal. Why is that? When the rice cools down, the excess moisture evaporates. The starch inside each grain stabilizes. Because of that, when added to a hot pan, the rice grains separate easily and do not form lumps. On the other hand, if you use freshly cooked rice that is still hot and soft, it contains a lot of moisture. When fried, steam is released and causes the rice to stick together. The result is rice that becomes soggy, heavy, and difficult to stir evenly. So if today you already have cold rice in your refrigerator, that's wonderful. Now, I transfer the rice into a large bowl. Using my hand, I gently loosen it, separating it piece by piece. Do it slowly, there is no need to press hard. The goal is simply to separate the rice so there are no large clumps left. You will notice that once loosened, the rice grains feel lighter and more separate. This is the foundation so that later the egg can coat each grain evenly. Now we talk about the eggs, and this is the biggest difference. I prepare 2 eggs. But instead of cracking them together into one bowl as many people usually do, today I separate the egg whites and the egg yolks. You might ask, is it really necessary to be that particular? The answer is, yes. And you will immediately see why. Egg whites contain quite a lot of water. If you mix the whole egg into the rice right from the beginning, that moisture will make the rice damp again. When fried, the rice will easily stick together and it will be difficult to achieve that fluffy texture. Meanwhile, the yolk is rich in natural fat and contains lecithin, a substance that helps bind and create a glossy finish. When you mix the yolk separately with the rice, it will coat each grain like a thin layer, helping the rice turn beautifully golden and more fragrant when fried. Now, I add the egg yolks into the bowl of loosened rice. Using your hand or a spatula, gently mix from the bottom up. No need to rush. Simply lift the rice up and fold it down so the yolk spreads evenly. You will see the rice gradually turn a light yellow color. The important thing is that no white grains remain visible. Each grain should be coated with a thin layer of egg. When this step is done correctly, once fried you will have golden, separate grains that do not clump together. We will use the egg whites later. Don't worry, they are still very important, just at the right time. Set the bowl of rice aside, and now we prepare the vegetables. Today I'm using very familiar and easy to find ingredients. First is half a carrot. Where are you watching this video from? Please leave me a comment and let me know. I slice it thinly, then cut it into strips, and then into small bite-sized cubes. Try to cut them relatively evenly so they cook at the same time. It's wonderful that we get to meet each other from all around the world. Next are fresh green beans. I trim off the ends, then cut them into small pieces similar in size to the carrots. Green beans are a very suitable choice for fried rice. They don't contain as much water as some other vegetables, they keep a light crisp texture when stir-fried, and they don't make the rice wet. Add a handful of sweet corn to increase the natural sweetness and add a bright color. For protein today, I'm using sausage. I slice it thinly and then dice it. If you prefer, you can replace it with shredded chicken, shrimp, or mushrooms if you want something lighter. Have you subscribed to my channel yet? If not, please press the subscribe button. Thank you for your support. Finally, chopped green onions. This will be added at the very end to keep the fragrance. I heat the pan over medium heat. When the pan is warm, add just enough oil to coat the bottom. First, add the sausage. Let the sausage cook for about 1 minute so it releases its aroma and a little of its natural oil. This step helps create the aromatic base for the entire dish. Once fragrant, I add the carrots, green beans, and corn. Stir evenly for about 1 minute. You only need the vegetables to be just cooked through, still keeping their bright color and a slight crispness. We don't want the vegetables too soft, because when mixed back with the rice, they will continue to be exposed to heat a little longer. Then, I transfer all the vegetables and sausage onto a plate and set them aside. At this point, the pan already holds a very pleasant aromatic base. I add a little more oil if needed. When the oil is just hot, I add the rice that has been mixed with the yolks. Gently spread the rice across the surface of the pan, then begin stirring from the bottom up. You will immediately notice the difference. The rice grains separate very easily. No sticking, no clumping. The light golden color becomes more visible. I let the rice touch the surface of the pan for a few seconds before stirring again. This helps the edges of the grains lightly toast, creating that characteristic aroma of good fried rice. When the rice has started to dry and become fluffy, now it's time for the egg whites. I drizzle the egg whites in and immediately stir quickly. Do not let the egg whites gather in one place. Within just a few seconds, the whites cook and form soft little strands weaving between the golden rice grains. This is when you clearly see the result of separating the eggs. The rice is golden, with soft white strands throughout, looking very light and appealing. I continue stirring a little longer until the rice is completely dry and fluffy again. When the rice has reached the desired fluffiness and dryness, I return the vegetables and sausage that were stir-fried earlier back into the pan. Stir gently, just enough for everything to blend together. At this moment, when you look into the pan, you will see the golden color of the rice, the orange of the carrots, the green of the beans, the bright yellow of the corn, all blending together vividly. The dish is not only delicious but also visually beautiful. I have always believed that when food looks appealing, we feel happier enjoying it. Now it's time to season. I add about half a teaspoon of salt. A little pepper for more fragrance and flavor. You can adjust according to your family's taste. I keep the heat at medium and stir quickly so the seasoning distributes evenly. At this step, I do not season too heavily. Because when the rice has been coated with yolk and fried properly, it already has a very natural aroma. The vegetables also bring their own natural sweetness. If you over-season, you will cover up that gentle flavor. After the seasoning is evenly mixed, I sprinkle in the chopped green onions. Just stir a few more times, then turn off the heat. The aroma now feels very warm, a little richness from the egg, a little sweetness from the vegetables, and that characteristic light fragrance of fried rice. I serve the rice onto a plate while it is still hot. Take a close look. Each grain of rice is separate. Not sticky. Not clumped. Light golden and glossy. When you lift it up, the rice feels light and fluffy, not heavy. Take a bite, and you will notice the softness of the egg whites, the gentle richness of the yolk, the slight chewiness of each grain of rice, and the subtle crisp sweetness of the green beans and carrots. Everything feels balanced. Nothing fancy, nothing complicated, but enough to make you want another spoonful. And it all starts from just one small change, separating the yolk and the white, and adding them at the right time. If you found today's video helpful, don't forget to like and share it with your family or friends, and subscribe to Merry Home. Thank you for spending time in the kitchen with me today. Goodbye, and I'll see you in the next video.